Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, Campbell. How are you?
You're a good guy. How you doing, mate?
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for joining me. So what do you think is going on then? Do you think that they've got an end game, or are
Uh,
we in it?
well, yeah, I kind of think we're in it. I think, um, with all the research, obviously, especially with orphan trains and your research, with Cabbage Patch Kids, it looks, we've always kind of known this, right? It looks like there's more than one kind of being down here.
Mm,
Uh, and I've always kind of said about, the Allies is that they're not us. But I believe a lot of them have been taken over, and that's why they're not us. Sold their soul, or they got the real
yeah,
eyeball, or whatever it is. But I think their game is to control us, and to have a slave species that looks after them. And I think that they know that this time is coming, that there's going to be earth changes and frequency changes that they can't stop. And so they're just trying to hold on to a population. And I think the way that they think they can do that is to keep the vibration low.
yeah,
If we're talking about this change, and it seems to be is a frequency thing, then maybe if they can keep people in a low enough frequency, um, that those people will stay, right? When the earth change comes. I mean, do they know there's going to be a split? There's been talk about that there's going to be like sort of a split to a two earth type, a new earth, this kind of thing. Or is it just that they want their populations to control in 15-minute cities, and
yeah,
and we'll just sort of be living outside there? Because I think they know that they can't control us, but that's also why I think there may be the clones, right? There may be a cloned population, each of these people with no internal monologue, the people that you can't talk to, they're complete systemites. They want authority. They
mhm,
want someone to tell them what to do and when they're right and when they're wrong. And they're the people who, laugh at people who get pulled up by the police. Ha ha ha, ha, look, they're getting robbed on the highway. Woo-hoo. These kind of people that they're not like us, right? Like there's a clear difference. And it's mainly in their thinking that they don't think. So are they trying to hold on to those people? Is that their creation? Because again, in the Bible, in the first, like literally in the first two pages of Genesis, there's two creation stories.
mhm,
Right? There's God who creates man and woman from the dust of the earth. And then on the next page, this Lord, whoever the Lord is, the Lord God pops up. He makes Adam and then makes Eve from Adam's rib.
mhm.
And as you go through the Bible, God becomes the Lord. And I think that's a big clue, right? I think that's their God. That's not the creator God. And so is that telling us that there was an original creation and then the Lord has come in and made a second creation? Is that the clones? Because the
Yeah.
whole story, right, in the rib is cloning, right? Getting
Oh,
DNA.
absolutely. Yeah, extracting the DNA, and the Lord, with regard to the Lord, then anyone looking into the Anunnaki is going to see Lord Enki mentioned quite a lot.
Yep. Yep. And in your phone country, there's a House of Lords.
Mm, yeah, which years ago all wore those white wigs.
Rigs.
Are
Yep.
they
The same
are they the
judges,
bald? Yeah,
and it says don't take the Lord's name in vain, which I thought meant you shouldn't probably call yourself a Lord, but there's Lords everywhere, the House of Lords. So is this
mm,
the same people, right? The Lords. And then, like I said, then you've got the judges who sit there in judgment. And again, in the Bible, it says, do not judge, right?
mm.
So, in their black cloaks. And what do? They treat us all as dead, right?
Yes,
Now,
dead entities.
they're necromancers. That's why
Mm.
they wear black capes. They are necromancers. They deal with the dead.
And then we're charged and placed in a cell.
We're charged, right? Which is all the energy. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because they're the ones in power that we voted into power, right? Elected.
yeah, and that's it, isn't it? They've been put into power. They're controlling the power. They have the power of the people.
Yes, yes. And so I think what's happening at the moment is the energy is rising, but I think, we've been told about a pole shift. I think
Yes.
I think the pole shift is a magnetic pole shift, just from
Yeah. Yeah.
negative to positive. I think we have, negative times and positive times, like the sine wave
Hmm.
or cycles, whichever way you want to look at it. And so that's why we've been in a negatively charged environment. And so the people who are negatively charged are
Yeah.
naturally empowered. They're the
Yeah.
ones that naturally are in power and
Yeah.
powerful. And so when it flips to positive, which I think we're getting to, I think that's why we're seeing all this plasma and weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
Then the good people who are positive, they will be empowered. And I think this is how we get a golden age, right? How we get a new earth, new world is like that flips the power. Whoever's empowered and has the power will change, and it will suddenly be the people who are doing it for the right reason, right?
Yeah. So, what do you think will happen when the polls change? What do you think we'll see?
Wow. They might be starting to change. Have you seen? There's all these videos coming out saying there's no one in China.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we were talking about that the other day, weren't
Oh,
we?
oh, that's right. Yes.
Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah. And I heard Richard Vobes talk about it yesterday. So it's getting out there. People are starting to notice.
yeah, yeah. So is this part of the process? Is this maybe that frequencies rising? And as that happens, we only see a certain frequency width, right? With
Yeah.
to ultraviolet. So if we've only got a certain amount that we can see in frequency, if we raise in vibration and we move up, does that mean we stop seeing things at the bottom end? Is that maybe what's happening? That
That's a
these
good
people,
point.
they have, but they're clones, right? So they don't have souls like us, let's just say. And so their frequency is lower because they're controlled, right, by the system. So
Mm,
they're the ones that are affected by all this low energy, low vibration, fear stuff that's put out.
mm.
And so, yeah, they stay in that plane. And as we rise, do they disappear? Is that what we're saying? Because, the Mandela effect, man, people sort of talk about,
Mm.
and, oh, yeah, man. But that's massive. Like, that
Yeah.
is literal proof that at least some of us remember a different past, right?
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Like, are we, and we're, a lot of us are finding answers in history, right? We seem to
Mm.
have more of an affiliation with that. Um, so it's almost like, again, back to that sort of clone things. Are we the original inhabitants with DNA links back to that world? And so we can sort of rise and do things, or even wake up, right, to the spelling, right, the spells that have been cast on us, by these allies. Um, because we only see what we believe is true, right?
Yeah.
Which is why when you go to school, they're like, this is a house, this is a train, this is
Mm.
a. They tell you everything, right? They don't let you go and
Yeah.
just for yourself. So if we only believe what we've been told and we're all fully indoctrinated, we went through school, we lived in this world, we all are, like, can we only see what they've told us is real? Like, is that the awakening that we're going to start thinking for ourselves? Like we have been doing, with things like Tartaria,
Mm.
and all this evidence started to pop up when we started asking questions. Like, are we going to be able to, like, is Tartaria still there and running, but we can't see it?